So the Future Stars promo is well and truly underway, and we're going to give you our custom tactics for the formation 4-4-2, a formation which on post-patch I've been enjoying throughout this Future Stars promo. We are going to show you exactly how this tactic runs, how you can implement it into your game and get the best success out of it. This will work on new gen and old gen, as we always do discuss that as well for you. Let me know down below in the comments, how have you been finding the Future Stars promo? Have you been a fan of it? And all of that jazz. So first of all, as I said, this is the 4-4-2 that we're talking about. The 4-4-2, I would argue, is probably the second best formation on FC24. The 4-3-2 one obviously being the most favorite, but it's still very good post-patch. Trivelas can still work if you have green time ability in your locker. If you can green time your Trivelas, that is still an option, so you can still look for that in this setup. Now, I've been having a little bit of a play around with obviously a lot of these Future Stars cards: Shevchenko, Neto, Elliott, Rijkaard, literally them all. They're all in the squad and having a go. Ideally, what you are going to be looking for here, if you can have one striker that is a big player who is very good in the air, that will help you. And then another one that's a little bit more nimble, a little bit more quicker. That's kind of the partnership that I like in my setup in a 4-4-2. You may be a little bit different, but that's kind of how we play it. Now, the wingers, you want to be able to beat a player. Elliott and Pina aren't the best at it just because of their physical presence. Really, they do struggle a little bit against some of the fullbacks. But if you can have wingers with a little bit more presence, you'll probably have a little bit more success in that department. Centre backs, obviously, we are looking for pace. So let's jump in to our custom tactics. The defensive style is going to be balanced, believe it or not. That is something that if you are used to my custom tactics that we go with. The way I like to work with these tactics is we want to use these from minute one, okay? And if we want to use them from minute one, there is no point for us to be super aggressive with press on heavy touch or press on possession loss. If you are losing the game, let's say you're 2-1 down at half time, you can change to heavy touch or press on possession loss if you want. We're getting to that stage of the game now where stamina is pretty crazy and you can really look to use that press a little bit more to your favor, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect the stamina, right? Constant pressure is more so for when you are losing, say 3-0 in the 60th minute, and we need to just send everyone forward and just try and win that ball back. Drop back, we don't use. Now, defensive width, we go 40. This is the same for new gen and old gen. The whole idea here is that we just want the right back and left back tucking in ever so slightly, just to try and make it a little bit more difficult to break down. It does give up the wings ever so slightly, and we're going to do something in player instructions to kind of help that. And you want to be mindful of the wings. We know how good the byline drive is. We know how good people can do that even on post patch. Still, we do want to be mindful of it. We don't want to give up that byline, so do be aware of people driving into the box. Okay, now depth, we go 68 on new gen. On old gen, I say this every single time, I really recommend you having a little bit of a tinker between kind of 40 to 50. The reason for that is old gen is a little bit more of an open, free-flowing game, while as new gen can be a little bit more defensive. The reason why I run 68 depth here is because basically 71 depth gives us the automatic offside trap, right, which can be really beneficial. Sometimes I do want that dependent on the opponent. Running 45 depth and above will see us get an automatic AI press. It did get nerfed many months ago. It's not as good, but having this sort of depth maintains that higher line ever so slightly without the AI doing that offside trap when they want. You might prefer the AI doing the offside trap on its own accord, so go to 71. If you're like me though and want to do the offside traps yourself on the occasions, then kind of running that sort of depth will suit you. Build up play, I still go balanced at the minute. I think long ball is an option for players that are looking to hit on the counter a little bit more often. It depends on what I'm looking to do kind of in the games, but balance is kind of where I go. Now, the reason why I go balance is because this is when you win the ball in your own half, right? And how do you want to look to transition into midfield and into the attack? I will look to trigger runs with L1 to send a player forward, R1 to bring a player short. On Xbox, that's LB and RB. And then me having the ability to do that kind of makes it happen on my own, you know? If you're sitting here and you're going, I can't really do that, I'm not at that level yet to kind of trigger runners, use creative runs and all that sort of stuff, have a little think about what do you want here. When you win the ball, do you want to build up slowly? Do you want to have a bit of fast build up, or do you want to just go long and over the top? I don't really like these two. I think these two have a time and a place, but I think for the 4-4-2 and just a very balanced setup, you are going to get the best out of everything with balanced. Fast build-up leaves you open to the counter, and long ball, obviously, yes, does have its time. Direct passing, believe it or not, is still very much one of the go-tos on FC24, and it's what I've run. And this is basically just going to push that opponent's defense back, giving you more room to operate in the middle if you want to come back on the edge for the travellas, for the finesses, whatever it may be. And we'll discuss that in the player instructions again. Now, width, I do actually go a little bit more narrower here, 43. I think the 442 gives you a lot of width as it is anyway. And when you tinker with width, it doesn't actually massive. It doesn't make a major change. If you were to run 70 width to 40 width, it's not massively noticeable, as much as maybe it should be in my own head. But 43, just to bring the left mid and right mid in ever so slightly, because what I'm looking to do is to play that ball from the wing into the striker to then look for 1-2 step overs and, you know, take that opponent on. If that isn't the case, then yes, I will go wide and go around the fullback should I wish to. For our players in box, we are going to go 6. This is just going to push the left mid, right mid, the strikers, and 1 centre mid kind of in, so that if I get to the byline, I've got options inside the 18-yard box. 1 corners and 1 free kicks. I always go for 1 corners, 1 free kicks. I don't want to commit players on that set pieces. I will just get caught on the counter. Now, your big striker, your one that maybe you want to run in behind with that physical presence, battling up against that VVD, have on getting behind, come back on defense. This is probably one of the more defensive setups I've ever released here on the channel, and we'll talk about that why in a second. Right striker is also on come back on defense. Now, EA patched this many years ago. You basically can't put all 11 players behind the ball. You can only put 10. Essentially, 1 player has to stay out. What this does is that if the ball is on Neto's side, he will drop back. If the ball is on Shevchenko's side, he will drop back, and just basically allow you to press with your left striker or right striker from behind the opponent, so you can kind of use them kind of coming into the midfield. All right, for our left mid and right mid, we go come back on defense, get in behind, get into the box across. Again, as I said, it's a defensive setup. We are trying to create 2 banks of 4 with that extra striker coming back in to help to basically create almost a 4-5-1 really in defense. We want to get into box across so that when Pina's driving the byline, we have that option at the back post for Elliot. If I can look for a deep cross, we can go for that as well. The more defensive-minded midfielder, we're going to have on stay back while attacking and cover centre. We want them staying back. Now, this is a aggressive setup when you are wanting to go forward, so you do just want something there to break up that initial counter to then allow your defenders to get back and make it really difficult for the opponent to break down. Your right centre mid, though, the one that you want to go forward a little bit more, have them on balance and cover centre. The reason for this is if you have them on stay back while attacking, I find that you just then have no options for the striker to go back to the midfield. Like, they're too far away from one another. Having just that right CM just sitting forward ever so slightly will really help. Right back and left back are on stay back while attacking. This goes without saying, you have to use them in the attack though. You can't just leave them to just sit there the whole time and do their own thing. So don't be afraid to manually trigger runs to bring them forward, gain 10 to 15 yards with that right back and left back. That is also an option. Should you wish to, if you have a keeper that is confident in doing this, feel free to go comes to crosses and sweep a keeper. I think it is really beneficial if you do have a keeper that you feel comfortable with doing that. So don't be afraid to. Okay, so using this throughout future stars, obviously in champs, will help you. As I always talk about though, guys, just remember that tactics are such a small part of the game. What you really need to be focusing on is you and what you're doing on the sticks, and you know, your defending, your right stick switching, your player movement, everything that you're doing, right? Tactics are such a minor part. Not every tactic works for everyone, so keep that into account as well. Let me know how you find it down below in the comments, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.